everybody, it's Annabelle and welcome back to my channel. In today's video I thought we'd do something a little bit fun and different and look at some Dendrobium Phalaenopsis types. What I mean by this is Dendrobium hybrids that have been hybridized with Bigibbum that give long kind of sprays of flowers which are reminiscent of Phalaenopsis orchids. So these guys, I've done a care tutorial on before. I'll link you to that up in the corner and down below. I find them very easy to care for and very forgiving, and I got into them probably about a year and a half, 2 years ago. I got my first ones, and I only have 3 or 4. My favourite is actually the one pictured here, which is the Sanook Dendrobium hybrid that they label as banana chocolate. I have no way of tracking the parents down for this. This is just a commercial name, but it has beautiful yellow flowers with a deep kind of brownish lip that have a slight fragrance, and these beautiful purple veined, purple ribbed canes. So I really enjoy the appearance of them just as almost foliage plants. They have really glossy leaves and these kind of nice contrasting purple ridges on the pseudobulbs. What you're looking at here is 2 Sanook banana chocolates. So a little bit of background story to this. When I first got these, I picked up 3 Dendrobium Phalaenopsis types in Lidl, which are all Sanook Dendrobiums, and I really liked them. So what I did was I got one for me, which was of the banana chocolate, and also a no ID hybrid that I cannot track down, which has purple and green flowers. And I also bought one of the banana chocolates for my mother. So my one is on the left and my mum's one is on the right here. Bought at exactly the same time. I repotted my mum's for her before giving it to her into a good quality, not Orchid bark, but like a really good quality pine bark, mixed with a little bit of LECA, and I think there's might be a little bit of pumice in there. I'm not sure if I was using it at the time. Probably not, so probably just bark and a little bit of LECA. And then my one went straight into semi-hydro. So I thought we'd actually just do a little update with my mum's Dendrobium that I've pinched from her for a little while for the purpose of this video, just to compare the 2 growing methods. Now, what I mean by growing methods isn't semi-hydro versus bark. It's not inorganic versus organic, it's 2 completely separate cultures. So one on the left is my one, so that one has been grown in a few different setups over the years. So last year it was grown inside under LED lights for most of the year, but last summer, so a year ago, it went out for summer and then came back in, and it did really well with the extra lighting. But for the most part, for the last 2 years, I think it must be about 2 years, it's been grown under artificial lights. Obviously with my culture method, I give lots of water and as much fertiliser as I can pretty much get into the plant before I start causing root burn. So I'm very like high light, high fertiliser, high moisture, trying to really drive growth. My mum, this little guy, she, how do I put this? She's not really into orchids. So she grows Phalaenopsis and this one. She started getting into them when I kind of started getting into them, really, just to, I think to kind of share something and share a bit of a hobby, but she's not passionate about them. She likes them, they're okay. They sit on her windowsill, receives quite a lot of bright shade, I would say. So this one sits on the same windowsill as her Phalaenopsis. It never gets any direct sun, but it receives bright shade throughout the day pretty much. It never gets fertilised. I have given my mum a little pack of Orchid fertiliser, a rain mix, to have a go with, but she got the kind of message and the idea that rainwater and pure water is better for them. So she dunks it in rainwater every now and then when it dries out. She lets them dry thoroughly in between waterings because that's the way that she's found that works for her, that's best for her environment. She's happy with it. So I just leave well alone. I don't give any unwarranted advice unless it's asked for. So I actually just thought we would have a look at these. It's a little bit cheeky. for me to do this, but it's interesting for us to look at this. So this isn't just a media comparison, this is like a whole setup comparison over a couple of years. So I find that quite interesting. So I wanted to just take you in on a close look at both of them and really kind of look at how the different culture has affected their growth. Because I guess this is like when you buy a car, some cars are in better condition than others based on their mileage and their history and how well they've been used. Maybe that's not a good analogy, but you get the idea that each kind of little knock that an orchid takes builds up over its lifetime. So by the time you get an orchid, even though it's maybe been through a few different nurseries and not actually been in the hands of another grower and home grower, it may be that there's actually a vast difference between the different orchids that you are getting, even if they're clones of the same thing, which this one is, because the banana chocolate has basically no variation, and you would get natural seedling variation if Sanook were just producing seedlings and naming them. So let's take a closer look at these two. So first of all, we're going to go in and look at my banana chocolate. Now this one is probably my most vigorous Dendrobium Phalaenopsis type. Really, really beautiful ridging on the pseudobulbs there. Really nice contrasting colours. You can see it's been getting quite a bit of light. It's kind of ridged with purple tinges on the actual leaves there. So when I got them, it had this cane, which was flowering at the time of purchase. So in my care, it's produced, so first of all, it produced this big growth here, which it did last year. And it pretty much, that's all it did last year. And then this year it's produced 2 directions of growth from like the back of that growth. And they're still maturing. They will flower once mature. I have every confidence that they will. Their lighting situation is a lot better than it was last year. So in total, mine's produced 3 growths for me. And last year it flowered. And I'll put some footage up on screen of the flowering because it was really beautiful. So that is my banana chocolate. And then we'll move on to mum's, and you can see there's quite a bit of difference between the leaf coloration between mine and my mum's. And I would say that this is obviously a light thing, looking a little bit dusty as well. But yeah, you can see the difference in coloration between the leaves. So mum's is currently working on a new growth. So I think it produced this one last year and it's now working on a little new growth at the back here. We can actually look at my mum's root situation, whereas with mine you can't actually see the roots in semi-hydro because I kind of used all my good pots to just put it in this one and made a semi-hydro reservoir. So with my mum's you can actually see the roots. So got a new root there. Not looking amazing, but they're okay. And yeah, so when Mum got hers, it had flower spike, and her growth last year didn't flower for her. So if we actually just look at these side by side in terms of what they were when we both got ours. So this is the new growth that was flowering for me at the time, and this is the new growth that was flowering for Mum at the time. And they were basically identical. We can't see that very well. It's a little bit difficult to compare, but I promise they were basically identical in size. So that is a kind of comparison between 2 culture methods. And this isn't as simple, like I said, as a comparison with semi-hydro. This is like a whole culture, not just media. It's actually light, fertilizer, air movement, pretty much everything that makes up orchid culture compared between the 2. And you can kind of really see the difference, I think, without being mean. because actually I think my mum's does look really good considering that she doesn't give it that much light and she doesn't fertilise. Obviously organic medium will have an intrinsic nutrient value that inorganic medium won't have, so there will be some nutrients provided by the bark itself. Nutrients and light are really the extra factors that give you that kind of edge with growing, as opposed to will your orchid live or not. Of course it'll live and probably do well, but will it flower? How many new growths a year will it produce? That sort of thing. I think my mum is a fairly typical example of a windowsill grower that doesn't have much experience and doesn't actually want to like invest too much time in research and that sort of thing. So I would just use this as an example to say that light and fertiliser and culture overall really can play a huge role in what your orchid looks like within the space of a couple of years. And I think that this is predominantly down to light and fertilising, because all semi-hydro is a watering method. That's all it is. It's not magic, it's just providing constant water and nutrients. So really the variable is hydration and nutrients, and you can produce a comparable result in organic media for sure, if not in a lot of cases better, based on a lot of people's experiences. Not necessarily in my experiences, but if we're going to be completely unbiased here, this is nothing really to do with semi-hydro, it's to do with culture in general, watering, fertilising and light mainly, in my opinion. I hope that you found this as interesting as I did, because I find this really fascinating to compare different cultural methods. I didn't know if it would be or not, but I just thought it would be quite a nice thing to actually compare, because they are like pretty much matched, and then they've gone off to 2 separate homes and this is how they've done. It's a comparison. And this actually gives us a really nice opportunity to compare the effects of overall environment and routine on orchid care and how they will do. Hope that you enjoyed this video and that you found this comparison between the two cultures useful and interesting. My mum's fairly intermediate temperatures, grown in a home in the UK. I am too, but my temperatures tend to be a little bit higher over the last couple of years because obviously I've been growing in a spare bedroom, and this one did go outside last year for extra sunlight, which means it was getting warm day temperatures but like night temperature drops. So it's a kind of comparison between the two, and I hope that it's been interesting for you guys. Thank you so much for watching my video today, and if you did enjoy this video, don't forget to give it a like or subscribe to my channel for more regular orchid updates. I don't know if you noticed, but I got a professional proper backdrop now, so I'm almost a real YouTuber. And I will see you guys all later. Have a great day. Bye!